know about you guys, but I'm not particularly liking this gap in the lash area on this one particular eye. It just looks a bit too like her fingers here. So let's go ahead and fill that in a little bit. And the easiest way, I mean, you can always draw them freehand with the brush tool, but in this particular case, I'm liking this patch right over here, and it's pointing this right way. See, if we were to grab one from this eye and transfer it over, it's not going to look right, because it's going to look too close and really identical to what we're grabbing. But if it's in the opposite eye, we're not going to really notice that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And just make sure that it works great. I'm going to put it up on a separate layer. So I'm going to create a blank layer and then call it lash. And then make sure that the retouched layer is selected. We're going to grab our clone stamp, make sure it's all the way up in opacity, get the size larger, and then grab that lash right about here. And then move over, make sure now you have that new lash layer selected. Move over this particular area, and there we go. We've got a nice lash. But as you can see, the color isn't exactly right. So we're going to zoom in a little bit further on this particular area, and we're going to delete away all the stuff we don't want. Make sure you got a nice soft brush going for your eraser tool. I may actually erase this whole bit here. And there we go. Just everything except for the lashes themselves. Let's step back and see how that looks. Looks wonderful. But see now, this particular lash, that this thin thing right here is starting to bug me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heal that away once we're done with this lash. Okay, let me just take this down. Looks great. Nice and full now. The only thing is that they look a little duller than the rest of the lashes. The rest of the lashes look a bit more contrasty. So I'm going to head and grab my burn tool and zoom in closer and go over the lash a little bit. Make sure avoiding the edges, just to darken this guy up a little bit. May make sense to raise the exposure a little bit. Okay. Let's see how that looks. It's a much better blend. The only thing is that it looks a little softer than the rest, just because the focus point was on this eye. So this eye is slightly soft, just because of the depth of field we were using. And I'm gonna go ahead and go up to the sharpen unsharp mask filter and sharpen that lash just enough so that way it matches nicely with the surrounding lashes. Let's see here. That's a bit much for it. Something around this lines should work great. Let's see how that looks as a blend. Perfect. Okay, so we know that this is the lash, and here's it without the lash, and here's with the lash. The eye looks nice and full now. Or at least I think it does. It looks much nicer than without the lash. It seems like there's a gap. But with that thing going, you can't really tell that it was cloned from this eye. But it's a wonderful match there. So let's go ahead and get rid of that little extra fly lash that I wanted to get rid of Let's use our healing brush. Make sure it's a nice small bristled brush. Alt click to select the point source. There we go, just like that. We got rid of that point, and our image is looking really nice. Let's see how far we've come so far. Alright, original and our finished version. Again, the original and our finished version. You'll never know that anything was done if you never saw the original. I promise you that. But since you guys are seeing the original and you're flipping it over to the finished, it's definitely a huge difference with the size. You know, the actual face, head shape was changed, altered, you know, slightly. So was the ear and a few other things. But in reality, you know, if the only thing that you see is the finished image, you would never know anything was done other than the fact that the lady looks perfect.